She went into labor in a stalled elevator with the city's most feared mafia boss, and by the time the doors opened, their fates were sealed forever. Amina Clark thought delivering packages would be the hardest part of her night, but when Dante Moretti helped bring her baby into the world, he also uncovered a secret that could destroy them both. Her abusive ex is working for his deadliest enemies. Now the ruthless kingpin who'd buried his heart 3 years ago is willing to burn the entire city down to protect the woman and child who awakened something he thought was lost forever. But when her past comes hunting with guns drawn and vengeance in mind, Amina will have to choose between running for her life or trusting the monster everyone warned her about. This isn't just a love story, it's a war zone with a nursery in the middle. Subscribe and tell me where you're watching from, because what happens next will have you questioning everything you thought you knew about redemption, family, and second chances. The pain came in waves now, sharp and sudden, like something twisting deep inside her belly. Amina Clark gripped the steering wheel of her old Honda and breathed through her teeth. The dashboard clock glowed 9:47 p.m. She had 3 more packages to deliver before she could finally go home. Just 3 more. You can do this. She pressed her hand against her stomach and felt the baby move. 8.5 months pregnant, and she was still working double shifts. She had no choice. The rent was due in 5 days, and Noah needed new shoes. Her 7-year-old brother wore the same pair until the soles had holes in them, but he never complained. He never asked for anything. That made it worse somehow. Amina pulled up to a small house with a sagging porch. She grabbed the package from the passenger seat and waddled to the front door. Every step felt heavier than the last. Her lower back ached, her feet were swollen. Her uniform shirt barely stretched over her belly anymore. She knocked twice and waited. A woman in pajamas opened the door, took the package without a word and closed the door again. No thank you. No smile. Amina was used to it. People didn't really see delivery workers. They just saw the uniform. She walked back to her car and checked her phone. 2 packages left, one across town, one at a fancy corporate building downtown. If she hurried, she could be home by 11. Noah would be asleep by then, but she could check on him, make sure he was safe. Another wave of pain hit her as she started the engine. She gasped and squeezed her eyes shut. Her hands trembled on the wheel. This wasn't normal. These cramps had been coming and going all day, but they were getting stronger. Closer together? No, not yet. Not tonight. The baby wasn't due for another 2 weeks. She had time. She just needed to finish her shift and get home. Then she could rest. Maybe call the clinic in the morning if the pain didn't stop. Amina drove across the city with both hands locked on the wheel. The streets were quiet. Most people were home with their families, watching TV or putting their kids to bed. She tried not to think about that, tried not to think about how alone she felt. 20 minutes later, she pulled into the parking lot of her apartment complex. The building was old and grey, with graffiti on the walls and a broken security light by the entrance. But it was home. It was all she could afford. She climbed the stairs slowly, one hand on the railing and one hand on her belly. By the time she reached the 3rd floor, she was out of breath. Her legs felt like rubber. She unlocked the door and stepped inside. Noah was sitting on the couch in his pajamas, clutching his stuffed dinosaur. His big brown eyes locked onto her the moment she walked in. He didn't say anything. He just stared at her with that quiet, worried look he always had. "Hey, baby," Amina said softly. She dropped her bag by the door and walked over to him. "You should be asleep." Noah shook his head. His fingers squeezed the dinosaur tighter. "You were waiting for me?" He nodded. Amina's heart clenched. Noah didn't talk much. He had autism, and words didn't come easy for him. But she always understood what he needed. And right now he needed to know she was okay. She sat down beside him and wrapped her arm around his thin shoulders. He leaned into her, still holding the dinosaur. "I'm sorry I was late," she whispered. "I'm here now, I'm okay." Noah looked up at her. His eyes searched her face like he was trying to find the truth in her words. Amina kissed the top of his head. "Go to bed, okay? I'll check on you in a little bit." He didn't move at first, but eventually he stood up and shuffled toward his bedroom. He looked back at her one more time before disappearing through the doorway. Amina let out a long breath and pressed her hand to her belly again. The pain was still there, dull and constant now, like a headache that wouldn't go away. She pulled out her phone and checked the delivery app. One more package, just one. If she skipped it, she'd lose the bonus pay. And she needed that money. "You can do this, one more, then you're done." She stood up slowly, grabbed her keys, and walked back out the door. The corporate tower was sleek and modern. all glass and steel and polished floors. Amina felt out of place the moment she stepped into the lobby. Her uniform was wrinkled, her shoes were scuffed. She looked like she didn't belong here. A security guard barely glanced at her as she signed in. She took the package from her bag and headed toward the elevators. The lobby was nearly empty. Just a few people in expensive suits walking past with briefcases and phones pressed to their ears. Amina rubbed her stomach and tried to ignore the tightness spreading across her belly. The pain was getting worse. She could feel it building again, slow and steady, like a wave rolling in from the ocean. Just deliver the package and leave. 10 minutes. That's all. She pressed the button for the elevator and waited. Her legs felt shaky. Her palms were sweating. The elevator dinged, and the doors slid open. Amina stepped inside and pressed the button for the 15th floor. She leaned against the wall and closed her eyes. Just a few more minutes. Then she could go home. Then she could... The elevator doors started to close. And then someone stepped inside. Amina opened her eyes and froze. The man standing beside her was tall and broad-shouldered, dressed in a dark suit that probably cost more than her rent. His black hair was slicked back, and his jaw was sharp and clean-shaven. But it was his eyes that made her breath catch. They were cold, dark, the kind of eyes that didn't miss anything. She recognized him instantly. Dante Moretti. Everyone in the city knew his name. He owned half the businesses downtown, restaurants, clubs, real estate. But everyone also knew what he really was. A mafia boss. Dangerous, ruthless, the kind of man you didn't look at too long. Amina pressed herself against the wall and stared at the floor. Her heart pounded in her chest. Don't look at him. Don't say anything. Just get to your floor and leave. Dante didn't say a word. He stood perfectly still, hands in his pockets, staring straight ahead. The air between them felt heavy, tense. The elevator started to rise. Amina counted the floors in her head. 5, 6, 7. And then the elevator jolted, hard. Amina stumbled forward and grabbed the railing. The lights flickered. The elevator jerked again, and then it stopped. Complete silence. Amina looked up at the display screen. It was frozen on the 9th floor. No, she whispered. No, no, no. Dante stepped toward the control panel and pressed the emergency button. Nothing happened. He pressed it again. Still nothing. Great, he muttered under his breath. Amina's chest tightened. She tried to take a deep breath, but the air felt too thin. The walls felt too close. And then the pain hit her again. This time it was different. This time, it felt like something inside her was tearing apart. She gasped and doubled over, clutching her stomach. The package fell from her hands and hit the floor with a thud. Are you okay? Dante's voice was sharp, but not unkind. Amina couldn't answer. She couldn't breathe. The pain spread through her belly and down her legs, and she knew what was happening. I think, her voice cracked, I think I'm in labor. Dante stared at her for a second, his expression unreadable. Then he moved. Fast. He pulled off his jacket and dropped it on the floor. How far apart are the contractions? I don't know. Amina's hands were shaking. They've been happening all day, but they weren't this bad. When's your due date? 2 weeks. Dante swore under his breath. He pressed the emergency button again, harder this time. Come on, come on. Nothing. Amina sank to the floor, her back against the wall. Tears burned her eyes. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not like this. Not here. Please, God. Not like this. Dante crouched down in front of her. His face was calm now, focused. Listen to me. You're going to be okay. I can't. Amina's voice broke. I can't do this. Not here. Yes, you can? His voice was firm, steady. Look at me. She lifted her head and met his eyes. You're stronger than you think, he said quietly. And I'm not going anywhere. Another contraction ripped through her, and Amina cried out. She squeezed her eyes shut and tried to breathe, but the pain was too much. Dante grabbed his jacket and folded it into a makeshift pillow. Lean forward. Let me put this behind you. Amina did what he said. She didn't have the strength to argue. Dante slipped the jacket behind her back and helped her shift into a more comfortable position. Better? He asked. She nodded. Even though nothing felt better, nothing felt okay. What's your name? He asked. Amina. Amina. He repeated it slowly, like he was testing the sound of it. I'm Dante. I know who you are. His mouth twitched, almost like he wanted to smile, but he didn't. How long have you been in labor? He asked. I don't know. A few hours, maybe. I thought it was just cramps. Dante's jaw tightened, but he didn't say anything. He pressed the emergency button again, then pulled out his phone. No signal. Of course, he muttered. Amina's breathing was getting harder. The contractions were coming faster now, one after another, with barely any time to rest in between. She could feel the pressure building. The baby was coming. Oh God, the baby is coming. Dante, she whispered. Her voice was barely audible. I'm scared. He looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time she saw something flicker in his eyes, something human. I know, he said quietly, but I've got you. Time stopped making sense. Amina didn't know if they'd been stuck in the elevator for 10 minutes or an hour. All she knew was the pain. It was everywhere, burning through her body, stealing her breath, making her feel like she was going to break apart. Dante stayed beside her the whole time. He didn't panic, didn't flinch. He just kept talking to her in that low, steady voice, guiding her through each contraction. Breathe, he said, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Amina tried. She really tried, but it hurt too much. I can't, she gasped. I can't do this. Yes, you can. His hand was on her shoulder now, warm and solid. You're doing it right now. Another wave of pain slammed into her, and Amina screamed. She didn't care anymore. Didn't care that she was trapped in an elevator with a stranger. Didn't care that she was terrified. She just wanted it to stop, and then she felt it, the pressure, the overwhelming need to push. Dante, she choked out. Something's happening. He moved quickly, positioning himself in front of her. Okay, this is it. What do you mean, this is it? Amina's voice rose in panic. We can't do this here. We don't have a choice. His voice was calm, too calm. The baby's coming. Amina's mind went blank. She couldn't think, couldn't process what was happening, and then her water broke. The warm liquid soaked through her pants and Amina started to cry. Real, ugly sobs that she couldn't hold back. Hey, Dante's voice was softer now. Look at me, Amina. She did. You're not alone, he said. I'm right here. She nodded, even though she didn't believe him, even though she felt more alone than she ever had in her life. The next contraction hit, and this time, she couldn't stop herself. She pushed. Dante's hands were steady as he helped her shift her position. He didn't look away, didn't hesitate. He just stayed with her, guiding her through every breath, every push, every moment of agony. That's it, he said. You're doing great. Amina didn't feel great. She felt like she was dying, but she kept going, because she didn't have a choice, and because somewhere deep inside, she believed him when he said he wasn't going anywhere. The elevator shuddered. Amina barely noticed. She was too focused on the pain, on the pressure, on the desperate need to get this baby out. One more push, Dante said. His voice was tight now, urgent. One more, Amina. You can do this. She gritted her teeth and pushed with everything she had left, and then she heard it. A cry, high-pitched and loud and perfect. Amina collapsed back against the wall, her whole body trembling. Tears streamed down her face. You did it, Dante said quietly. He was holding something, someone, in his hands. Carefully, gently. Amina's vision blurred, but she could see the tiny figure, the baby, her baby. Is she okay? Amina's voice was hoarse. Is she breathing? She's perfect, Dante said, and when Amina looked at him, she saw something in his face she didn't expect. Awe. He wrapped the baby in his shirt, his expensive, probably ruined shirt, and placed her carefully in Amina's arms. Amina looked down at her daughter and felt her heart crack wide open. The baby's eyes were closed, her tiny fists curled against her chest. She was so small, so fragile. Hi, Amina whispered. Hi, baby. The elevator jolted again, and this time it started moving. Amina looked up at Dante. He was kneeling beside her, his shirt gone, his hands stained with blood. He looked exhausted, shaken, but he didn't move away. Thank you, she whispered. Dante didn't answer. He just stared at the baby in her arms, like he was seeing a ghost. The elevator doors finally opened and the sound of voices filled the air. Firefighters, paramedics, security guards. But Dante didn't leave her side. Even when the paramedics tried to take over, he stayed close. His presence was solid, unshakable. And for the first time in a long time, Amina didn't feel alone. The ambulance smelled like disinfectant and metal. Amina lay on the stretcher with her baby tucked against her chest, wrapped in a clean blanket the paramedics had given her. The sirens wailed above her, loud and relentless. She was still shaking, still trying to process what had just happened. She'd given birth in an elevator, with a Mafia boss. It didn't feel real. The paramedic sitting beside her checked her vitals, and asked her questions she could barely answer. Her mind was too foggy, too overwhelmed. And then the back door of the ambulance opened, and Dante climbed inside. "Sir, you can't," the paramedic started. "I'm staying," Dante said. It wasn't a request. The paramedic opened his mouth like he wanted to argue, but one look at Dante's face made him stop. He nodded and moved to the side. Dante sat down across from Amina and leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. He looked at her, then at the baby, then back at her. "Clark," he said quietly. "Your last name is Clark?" Amina frowned. "Yeah. Why?" Dante's jaw tightened. He didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, almost dangerous. "Do you know a man named Elias Ward?" Amina's blood turned cold. She hadn't heard that name in months, hadn't let herself think about him, about what he'd done to her. "How do you know Elias?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dante's eyes darkened. "Because he tried to kill me." The ambulance siren screamed into the night, and Amina held her baby closer. She had a horrible feeling that her life was about to get a lot more complicated. The hospital room was small and sterile. White walls, white sheets. The smell of bleach and medicine hung in the air. Amina lay in the narrow bed, her baby asleep in a plastic bassinet beside her. The nurses had cleaned them both up, checked the baby's vitals, and told her everything was fine. But nothing felt fine. Dante had followed her into the delivery room. The nurses tried to stop him, but he'd shown them some kind of ID, said something in a low voice, and suddenly they let him through. Now he sat in a chair in the corner of the room, silent and still like a guard. Amina didn't know what to think about that. She didn't know what to think about any of this. Her body ached. Her mind was racing. And the name Elias Ward kept echoing in her head like a warning bell. "Tell me about him," Dante said suddenly. Amina looked over at him. His face was unreadable, but his eyes were sharp, focused. "There's nothing to tell," she said quietly. "Don't lie to me." "I'm not lying." Her voice came out sharper than she meant it to. "Elias was my boyfriend. A long time ago, we broke up." "When?" "Almost a year ago." Dante leaned forward, resting his forearms on his knees. "And the baby?" Amina's chest tightened. "She's his, biologically, but he doesn't know about her. I never told him." "Why not?" She looked down at her hands. They were still trembling. "Because he's a bad man, and I didn't want him anywhere near her." Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "He's worse than you think." Amina's throat felt tight. "What do you mean?" "Elias Ward works for the Costello family. They're one of the rival families in this city. Last year they tried to take over my territory. It didn't go well for them." Dante's voice was calm, too calm. "Elias was one of the men who set up the ambush that almost killed me, and 2 of my men." Amina felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. She'd known Elias was dangerous. She'd known he hurt people. But this? "I didn't know," she whispered. "I swear, I didn't know." "I believe you." Dante stood up and walked toward the window. He looked out at the city lights below. "But that doesn't change the situation. If Elias finds out you had his baby, he'll come for you, and he won't come alone." "Why would he care?" Amina's voice cracked. "He never wanted kids. He never even—" "It's not about the baby," Dante said. "It's about control and revenge. If he knows you're connected to me in any way, he'll use that." "Connected to you?" Amina shook her head. "We're not connected. You helped me deliver my baby. That's it." Dante turned to face her. His expression was hard, unreadable. "You think it's that simple, isn't it?" He didn't answer. The door to the hospital room opened, and a nurse stepped inside with a clipboard. She smiled at Amina. "How are you feeling, sweetheart?" "Tired," Amina said honestly. "That's normal. You've been through a lot tonight." The nurse checked the baby's bassinet and made some notes on her clipboard. "Is there anyone we should call for you? Family? The baby's father?" "No," Amina said quickly. "No one." The nurse glanced at Dante, then back at Amina. "Okay. Well, we'll keep you here for observation tonight. If everything looks good in the morning, you can go home." "Thank you." The nurse left, and the room fell silent again. Amina looked at Dante. "You should go." "You don't have to stay here. I'm not leaving." "Why not?" "Because you're not safe. I've been taking care of myself for a long time," Amina said. "I don't need—" "You're not listening." Dante's voice was sharp now. "Elias will find out about the baby, and when he does, he'll come for you. Do you understand what that means?" Amina's hands clenched into fists. "I understand that I'm trapped. I understand that I can't go anywhere without looking over my shoulder. I've been living like that for a year." Dante stared at her. and for a moment something flickered in his eyes, something that looked almost like sympathy. "You're not alone anymore," he said quietly. Before Amina could respond, the door burst open, and Elias Ward walked in. Amina's heart stopped. Elias looked the same as she remembered, tall and lean, with sharp cheekbones and cold blue eyes. His blonde hair was cut short, and he wore an expensive leather jacket over a black shirt. He looked like he belonged in a magazine, handsome, polished, but Amina knew better. "Well, well," Elias said, his voice smooth and mocking. "Look at you, playing house already." Dante moved instantly. He stepped between Elias and Amina, his body tense and ready. "Get out." Elias smirked. "Relax, Moretti, I just want to talk to her." "You don't get to talk to her." "Why? Because you're her new boyfriend now?" Elias's eyes flicked toward the bassinet. "Or is it because of the baby?" Amina's blood turned to ice. "How did you know?" she whispered. Elias grinned. "I have friends in this hospital. They keep me informed." He took a step closer, and Dante moved with him, blocking his path. "So, is it mine?" "Get out," Dante said again. His voice was low, dangerous. "I'm not talking to you." Elias's eyes locked onto Amina. "Is the baby mine?" Amina. Amina couldn't speak, couldn't move. She felt like she was suffocating. "Answer me," Elias demanded. "She doesn't owe you anything," Dante said. "Stay out of this, Moretti." Elias's smile disappeared. "This is between me and her." "No." Dante's hand moved to his waistband, and Amina saw the glint of metal, a gun. "It's between me and you, and if you take one more step toward her, I'll put a bullet in your head." Elias laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You think you can threaten me? In a hospital? I'm not threatening you. I'm making a promise." The air in the room felt electric, dangerous. Amina's hands were shaking. "Elias, please, just leave." "Not until you tell me the truth." Elias's voice turned cold. "Is that baby mine?" "It doesn't matter," Amina said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You're not going to be in her life. That's not your decision." "Yes, it is." Elias's jaw tightened. He looked at Dante, then back at Amina. "You're making a mistake. You think he's going to protect you. He's a killer, Amina. A monster. And sooner or later, he'll turn on you too." "I said get out." Dante pulled the gun from his waistband and aimed it directly at Elias's chest. Elias held up his hands, still smirking. "Fine, I'll go. But this isn't over." He looked at Amina one more time. "I'll see you soon." He turned and walked out of the room. The moment the door closed, Amina started to cry. Not quiet tears, loud, gasping sobs that she couldn't hold back. Dante holstered his gun and moved toward her. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, solid and unmoving, like a wall between her and the rest of the world. "I can't do this," Amina choked out. "I can't. He's going to take her. He's going to—" "No, he's not." Dante's voice was firm, final. "I won't let him. You can't stop him." "Yes, I can." Amina looked up at him through her tears. "Why would you do that? You don't even know me." Dante didn't answer right away. He looked at the baby sleeping in the bassinet. Something in his expression shifted, softened. "Because I was there when she was born," he said quietly. "And that means something." The next morning, a social worker came to check on Amina. Her name was Mrs. Peterson, and she had kind eyes and a clipboard full of questions. "How are you feeling?" Mrs. Peterson asked, sitting down in the chair beside Amina's bed. "I'm okay," Amina lied. "And the baby?" "She's perfect," Mrs. Peterson smiled. "That's good. Now, I need to ask you a few questions about your living situation. Do you have a stable home to go back to?" Amina hesitated. "Yes, I have an apartment. And is there anyone who can help you take care of the baby? Family? Friends?" "I have my younger brother. He lives with me." "How old is he?" 7. Mrs. Peterson made a note on her clipboard. "And the baby's father? Is he in the picture?" Amina's chest tightened. "No." "Does he know about the baby?" "He does now." Mrs. Peterson looked up, her expression cautious. "Is there any reason to believe he might be a danger to you or the baby?" Amina didn't know how to answer that. If she told the truth, Mrs. Peterson might take the baby away. If she lied, she'd be putting herself in even more danger. Before she could respond, the door opened, and a small figure stepped inside. "Noah," Amina breathed. Her little brother stood in the doorway, clutching his stuffed dinosaur. His eyes were red, like he'd been crying. Behind him stood Dante, one hand resting gently on Noah's shoulder. "He wanted to see you," Dante said simply. Noah ran toward the bed and climbed up beside Amina, burying his face against her shoulder. She wrapped her arms around him and held him tight. It's okay, she whispered. I'm okay. Mrs. Peterson stood up, eyeing Dante with suspicion. And you are? A friend, Dante said. A friend. Mrs. Peterson didn't sound convinced. Do you live with Miss Clark? No. Then I'm afraid I'll need to ask you to leave. This is a private conversation. Dante's expression didn't change. Noah stays with his sister. That's not... He stays, Dante repeated. His voice was calm, but there was an edge to it that made Mrs. Peterson stop mid-sentence. She looked at Amina. Is this man bothering you? No, Amina said quickly. He's helping me. Mrs. Peterson didn't look happy, but she nodded. She asked a few more questions, made a few more notes, and then finally left with a promise to check in again tomorrow. The moment she was gone, Amina let out a shaky breath. Thank you, she said to Dante, for bringing Noah. He was scared, Dante said. I told him you were okay, but he needed to see it for himself. Noah pulled back slightly and looked at Amina's face. Then he looked at the baby in the bassinet. That's your niece, Amina said softly. Do you want to meet her? Noah nodded. Amina carefully lifted the baby and placed her in Noah's lap. He stared down at her with wide eyes, his small hands hovering nervously around her. She's tiny, Amina said. You have to be gentle. Noah touched the baby's hand with one finger. The baby's tiny fingers curled around his, and Noah's face lit up. Amina's heart ached. This was what she'd wanted. A family, a safe place for Noah, a chance to give her daughter something better than what she'd had. But now Elias knew, and everything was about to fall apart. Dante cleared his throat. We need to talk. Amina looked up at him. About what? About where you're going when you leave here. I'm going home. No. Dante's voice was firm. You're not. Excuse me? Elias knows where you live. He'll be waiting for you. Then what am I supposed to do? Amina's voice rose. I can't just disappear. I have a job. I have responsibilities. You have a newborn baby and a little brother who need you alive. Dante crossed his arms. Come stay at my place just for a few days, until I can figure out how to deal with Elias. Stay at your place? Amina stared at him like he'd lost his mind. You're a stranger who kept you alive last night. That doesn't mean I trust you. I'm not asking you to trust me, Dante said. I'm asking you to be smart. Amina wanted to argue, wanted to tell him she didn't need his help. But then she looked at Noah, at the way he was holding the baby so carefully, so gently, and she knew Dante was right. She couldn't go home. Not yet. Fine, she said quietly, but just for a few days. Dante nodded. That's all I'm asking. The bulletproof SUV was black and sleek, with tinted windows and leather seats that smelled brand new. Amina sat in the back with Noah and the baby, watching the city pass by outside. Dante sat up front with the driver, speaking quietly into his phone. Noah pressed his face against the window, his dinosaur tucked under his arm. He didn't ask where they were going. He never asked questions. He just trusted Amina to keep him safe. That trust felt heavier than ever. 20 minutes later, the SUV pulled up to a tall building made of glass and steel. A doorman opened the car door, and Dante stepped out first. He reached back to help Amina, his hand steady and warm. This way, he said. Amina held the baby close and took Noah's hand. They walked through a marble lobby with high ceilings and crystal chandeliers. Everything was polished, perfect, expensive. Amina felt like she didn't belong here. They took a private elevator to the top floor. When the doors opened, Amina stepped out into a penthouse that looked like something from a magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, white marble floors, modern furniture, a kitchen with stainless steel appliances that probably cost more than Amina's entire apartment. This is your home? She whispered. One of them, Dante said. Amina didn't know what to say to that. A man stepped out from one of the side rooms. He was tall and broad, with dark hair and a scar running down his left cheek. He wore a suit and a cold expression. This is Luca, Dante said. My right hand. If you need anything, and I'm not here, ask him. Luca looked at Amina like she was a problem he didn't want to deal with. Boss, show her to the guest room, Dante said. Make sure she has everything she needs. Luca nodded, but he didn't look happy about it. Amina followed him down a long hallway. Noah stayed close to her side, his eyes darting around nervously. The guest room was bigger than Amina's entire apartment. It had a king-sized bed, a private bathroom, and another set of floor-to-ceiling windows. There's a crib in the closet, Luca said flatly. I'll bring it out. Thank you, Amina said quietly. Luca didn't respond. He just walked into the closet and came back with a white wooden crib. He set it up quickly and efficiently, then left without another word. Amina stood in the middle of the room, holding her baby, feeling completely out of place. Noah climbed onto the bed and curled up with his dinosaur. "Are we safe here?" he asked. His voice was so quiet, she almost didn't hear him. Amina sat down beside him and kissed his forehead. "Yes, baby, we're safe." She hoped she was telling the truth. That night, Amina barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Elias's face, heard his voice, felt the weight of his threats pressing down on her. The baby woke up twice to nurse, and both times, Amina sat in the dark and cried while her daughter fed. She was exhausted, overwhelmed, terrified. She'd thought leaving Elias was the hard part. But this was so much worse. The next morning, Amina woke to the sound of voices in the hallway. She carefully placed the baby in the crib and opened the door. Dante and Luca were standing near the kitchen, speaking in low tones. They stopped when they saw her. "Did I wake you?" Dante asked. "No, I was already up." Amina hesitated. "Is everything okay?" Dante and Luca exchanged a look. "We need to talk," Dante said. Amina's stomach dropped. "About what?" "Elias. He's been asking around, looking for you." "How do you know?" "Because I have people watching him." Dante's expression was hard. "He went to your apartment last night. When you weren't there, he threatened your landlord." Amina felt like she was going to be sick. "Is my landlord okay?" "He's fine. But Elias knows you're not coming back." "So what does that mean?" Luca spoke up for the first time. "It means he's going to keep looking. And when he finds you, he's going to make a move." "What kind of move?" "The kind that ends with you and the baby dead," Luca said bluntly. "Luca," Dante warned. "She needs to know the truth, boss." Amina wrapped her arms around herself. "So what am I supposed to do, stay here forever?" "No," Dante said. "Just until I can neutralize the threat." "Neutralize the threat," Amina repeated. "You mean kill him?" Dante didn't deny it. Amina closed her eyes. This was insane. All of it. "I need coffee," she muttered, walking toward the kitchen. She opened a few cabinets, looking for mugs. Everything was so organized, so perfect. She finally found the coffee maker and started pressing buttons, trying to figure out how it worked. "Need help?" a voice said behind her. Amina jumped and spun around. Luca was standing right behind her, arms crossed, watching her with those cold, suspicious eyes. "I'm fine," she said quickly. "You sure? You look like you're about to break that machine." "I said I'm fine." Luca didn't move. "You know I don't trust you." Amina blinked. "Excuse me?" "You show up out of nowhere, pregnant, desperate, and suddenly my boss is playing hero." Luca stepped closer. "I think you're using him." "Using him?" Amina's voice rose. "I didn't ask for any of this." "Didn't you?" "Luca." Dante's voice was sharp. He was standing in the doorway now, his expression dark. "Back off." "Boss, I'm just saying—" "I said back off." Luca's jaw tightened, but he stepped away. Dante walked over to Amina. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," she said, even though she wasn't. Dante looked at Luca. "Apologize." "Boss, now!" Luca let out a frustrated breath. "I apologize. To her, not to me." Luca looked at Amina. "I apologize." It didn't sound sincere, but Amina nodded anyway. Dante turned to her. "Luca's protective. He doesn't trust easily, but he was out of line." "It's fine," Amina said quietly. "I get it. I'm a stranger in your house. Of course he doesn't trust me." "You're not a stranger," Dante said, and the way he said it made Amina's chest tighten. Before she could respond, a small voice said, "Can I have breakfast?" They all turned. Noah was standing in the doorway, holding his dinosaur. He looked so small in his oversized pajamas. Amina's heart clenched. "Of course, baby. What do you want?" Noah shrugged. "How about pancakes?" Dante said. Noah's eyes widened. He nodded. Dante walked over to the stove and started pulling out ingredients like he'd done this 100 times before. Amina watched him, surprised. "You cook?" she asked. "Sometimes." "I didn't think Mafia bosses cooked." Dante glanced at her, and for the first time she saw the hint of a smile. "We're full of surprises." Noah climbed onto one of the bar stools and watched Dante work. He was completely silent, but his eyes followed every movement. And then Dante did something unexpected. He pulled a deck of cards from his pocket and set it on the counter. With one hand, he flipped the cards in a quick, smooth motion, making them fan out perfectly. Noah leaned forward, fascinated. "You want to see a trick?" Dante asked. Noah nodded. Dante shuffled the cards and held them out. "Pick one. Anyone. Don't show me." Noah reached out and carefully pulled a card from the deck. He looked at it, then hid it against his chest. Now put it back. Noah slid the card back into the deck. Dante shuffled the cards again, his hands moving so fast Amina could barely follow. Then he stopped and pulled out a single card. "Is this yours?" Noah looked at the card. His eyes went wide. He nodded, and then he smiled. It was the first real smile Amina had seen on his face since the baby was born. Her throat tightened with emotion. Dante set the card down and went back to making pancakes like nothing had happened. But Amina saw the way his shoulders relaxed, saw the way his expression softened when he looked at Noah. Maybe, just maybe, staying here wasn't the worst idea after all. The days at Dante's penthouse blurred together. Amina tried to find a routine. She fed the baby, changed diapers, made sure Noah ate his meals, but nothing felt normal. How could it? She was living in a stranger's home, hiding from her violent ex, surrounded by men with guns. She still hadn't named the baby. Every time she tried to think of a name, her mind went blank. Nothing felt right. On the third morning, Amina woke up to find Noah missing from the bed beside her. Panic shot through her chest. She grabbed her robe and rushed out of the bedroom, her heart pounding. She found him in the living room, with Dante. They were sitting on the floor together. Dante was showing Noah something on his phone. Noah leaned in close, his dinosaur forgotten beside him, completely focused on whatever Dante was saying. "And if you tap here," Dante said, "the building falls down. See?" Noah tapped the screen. A digital building collapsed in a cloud of animated dust. Noah's mouth opened in a silent laugh. Amina stood in the doorway, frozen. She'd never seen Noah like this with anyone except her. He was always so distant, so closed off, but with Dante he seemed comfortable. Dante looked up and saw her. "Morning, morning," Amina said quietly. "What are you guys doing? Playing a game?" Dante handed the phone to Noah. "Keep going. I'll be right back." Noah took the phone carefully, like it was something precious, and kept playing. Dante stood up and walked over to Amina. He was wearing dark jeans and a grey t-shirt. No suit today. His hair was slightly messy, like he'd just woken up too. He looked younger, more human. "He came out here about an hour ago," Dante said softly. "I hope that's okay." "It's fine. I was worried. I wouldn't let anything happen to him." Amina believed him. She didn't know why, but she did. "How long have you been awake?" she asked. "Since 5. Do you always wake up that early?" "I don't sleep much." There was something heavy in the way he said it, like sleep wasn't restful for him, like maybe he was haunted by things he couldn't escape. Amina understood that feeling. "Thank you," she said, "for being kind to him. Noah doesn't open up to people easily. He's a good kid." "He is." They stood there for a moment, neither of them speaking. The apartment was quiet except for the soft sounds of Noah's game. "I need to go out for a few hours," Dante said finally. "Luca will be here. Don't leave the apartment." "I won't. I mean it, Amina. Not for any reason." "I understand." Dante looked like he wanted to say something else, but instead he just nodded and walked back to Noah. He crouched down and ruffled Noah's hair gently. "I have to go, little man, but you can keep playing, okay?" Noah looked up at him and nodded, and then he did something that made Amina's breath catch. He reached out and touched Dante's hand, just for a second, a silent thank you. Dante's expression shifted, softened. He squeezed Noah's hand back, then stood up and left without another word. Amina watched him go, her heart doing something strange in her chest. She didn't want to like him, didn't want to trust him, but it was getting harder not to. That afternoon, Amina tried to make herself useful. She cleaned the guest room, folded baby clothes, took a shower for the first time in days. It felt good to wash away the exhaustion and fear, even if it only lasted a few minutes. When she came out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, she found Luca standing in the doorway of her room. She jumped. "Jesus, can you knock?" The door was open. "That doesn't mean you can just walk in." Luca crossed his arms. "Boss wanted me to check on you." "I'm fine." "You don't look fine." Amina tightened the towel around herself. "What do you want, Luca?" He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I owe you an apology. A real one." Amina blinked. "What?" "I was out of line the other day. Dante's been different since he lost his wife. Cold, distant. I didn't think anyone could get through to him." Luca's jaw tightened. "But then you showed up and he's not the same, he's softer, and I don't know if that's good or bad." "I'm not trying to change him," Amina said quietly. "I'm just trying to survive." "I know." Luca looked at her for a long moment. But he cares about you, and that makes you a liability. People will use you to get to him. Is that supposed to make me feel better? No. It's supposed to make you careful. Luca turned and walked out, leaving Amina standing there with her heart pounding. That night, Dante came home late. Amina was in the kitchen trying to figure out how to work the fancy espresso machine when she heard the front door open. She looked up and froze. Dante's shirt was torn. There was blood on his knuckles. "Are you okay?" The words tumbled out before she could stop them. "I'm fine." "You're bleeding." "It's not my blood." Amina's stomach twisted. She didn't want to know whose blood it was. Didn't want to think about what he'd done tonight. But she couldn't stop herself. Did you hurt someone?" Dante walked to the sink and started washing his hands. The water ran red. "I did what I had to do." "To protect me?" He didn't answer. Amina's throat tightened. She'd known what he was. A mafia boss. A killer. But seeing the evidence of it right in front of her was different. Harder. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Dante looked at her, his expression unreadable. "For what?" "For dragging you into my mess." "You didn't drag me into anything." He dried his hands on a towel. "I made a choice." "Why?" "Because I was there when she was born." His eyes flicked toward the guest room, where the baby was sleeping. "And because I know what it's like to lose everything." Amina's chest ached. "Your wife?" Dante's jaw tightened. "Yeah." "What happened to her?" For a long moment he didn't answer. Then he said, "She died in childbirth. So did our daughter." The words hit Amina like a punch to the gut. "Dante, It was 3 years ago." His voice was flat, emotionless. "I thought I'd moved on, but then I was in that elevator with you and—" He trailed off, shaking his head. "And what?" And it all came back. He looked at her, really looked at her. Every memory, every fear, every moment I thought I'd buried. Amina didn't know what to say. What could she say? Nothing would fix that kind of pain. So instead, she did something she probably shouldn't have. She walked over to him and took his hand. Dante stared down at their joined hands, like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "You didn't lose her," Amina said softly. "You saved her. You saved both of us." Dante's throat worked. His eyes were glassy, like he was fighting tears. "I couldn't save them, I know. But you saved us." For a moment, Amina thought he might break, might finally let go of whatever he was holding inside. But then he pulled his hand away and stepped back. "You should get some sleep," he said roughly. "It's late." "Dante, good night, Amina." He walked out of the kitchen, leaving her standing there alone. Amina pressed her hand to her chest, feeling her heart race. She was falling for him. She knew it was stupid, dangerous, impossible, but she couldn't help it. The next morning, Luca burst into the guest room without knocking. Amina was nursing the baby. She yelped and pulled the blanket over herself. "Luca, what the hell? We have a problem." Dante appeared behind him, fully dressed in a black suit. His expression was grim. "Get dressed, now." "What's going on?" "Elias, he's circling the building." Amina's blood ran cold. "What?" "We have security footage," Luca said. "He's been here twice in the last 2 hours. He's looking for a way in." "Oh, God." Amina's hands shook as she tried to button her shirt. "What if he finds us?" "He won't." Dante's voice was hard, final. "But we need to move you to a safer location." "Where?" "I have a safe house outside the city. Luca will take you and Noah there." "What about you?" "I'm staying here. If Elias comes, I'll handle him." "No." Amina stood up, clutching the baby to her chest. "I'm not running anymore. I'm tired of being scared." "This isn't about being brave," Dante said. "It's about being smart." "Then be smart with me." Amina's voice cracked. "Don't send me away. Don't make me leave." Dante stared at her. Something flickered in his eyes. Something vulnerable. "Please," Amina whispered. Luca cleared his throat. "Boss, we need to decide. Now." Dante looked at Luca, then back at Amina. "Fine. You stay. But you follow my orders. No arguments." "Okay." "I mean it, Amina." "I said, okay." Dante nodded. "Luca, double the security on the ground floor. No one gets in without clearance." "Already done." "Good." Dante looked at Amina. "Stay inside. Don't go near the windows. And keep the baby quiet." "I will." Dante left the room, and Luca followed. Amina sank onto the bed, her legs shaking. Noah crawled up beside her and leaned his head on her shoulder. She wrapped her arm around him and held him close. "It's going to be okay," she whispered. "I promise." But she wasn't sure she believed it anymore. 2 days later, Amina was going stir-crazy. She'd been cooped up in the penthouse with nothing to do except take care of the baby and worry. Noah was getting restless too. He kept pacing the apartment, looking out the windows, holding his dinosaur like a lifeline. Luca was watching them like a hawk. Every time Amina moved, he was there, watching, waiting. It was driving her insane. "I need to go out," she said finally. Luca looked up from his phone. "No, I need diapers and formula. The baby's almost out. I'll send someone." "I want to go myself." Boss said no. "I don't care what he said." Amina crossed her arms. "I'm not a prisoner. You're a target. Then come with me. You can protect me." Luca's jaw tightened. He looked like he wanted to argue, but finally he said, "Fine, but we go to the store in the building, nowhere else." "Deal." 10 minutes later, they were in the elevator heading down to the parking garage. There was a small convenience store on the ground floor that sold basic supplies. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. The elevator doors opened, and Amina stepped out into the dim concrete garage, and then everything went wrong. 3 men appeared from behind a parked car. They were wearing black masks and holding guns. Luca shoved Amina behind him and pulled out his own weapon. "Get back in the elevator." Amina stumbled backward, her heart hammering in her chest. The men started shooting. The sound was deafening. Luca fired back, his movements fast and precise. Amina covered her ears and screamed, and then one of the men lunged toward her. He grabbed her arm and yanked her forward. Amina fought back, kicking and clawing, but he was too strong. "Let me go," she screamed. The man dragged her toward a black van parked near the exit. Amina's mind raced. If they got her in that van, she was dead. She knew it. She bit down on the man's arm as hard as she could. He yelled and let go for just a second, and then Dante was there. He came out of nowhere, moving like a force of nature. He slammed into the man holding Amina and knocked him to the ground. Then he turned and shot the other 2 men without hesitation. It was over in seconds. Amina fell to her knees, gasping for air. Her whole body was shaking. She couldn't think, couldn't breathe. Dante crouched down in front of her. His hands were on her shoulders, steady and warm. "Look at me." She did. "You're okay," he said. "You're safe." "They were going to take me," she choked out. "They were going to—" "I know, but they didn't. You're okay." Luca was on his phone, barking orders to someone. Sirens wailed in the distance. Dante helped Amina to her feet. "We need to get you upstairs. Now." She nodded, too shaken to argue. They rode the elevator back to the penthouse in silence. Amina's mind kept replaying the attack over and over. The guns, the hands grabbing her, the look in that man's eyes. When they reached the apartment, Dante guided her to the couch and sat her down. "Stay here." "Noah," she said suddenly. "Where's Noah?" "He's safe. One of my men is with him. I need to see him." "In a minute." Dante knelt in front of her. "Are you hurt?" "No, I don't think so." He checked her arms anyway, looking for injuries. His hands were gentle, careful. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "For what?" "For not protecting you better. You saved me. I should have stopped them before they got that close." "Dante." Amina reached out and touched his face. "You saved me." He closed his eyes and leaned into her touch for just a moment. And in that moment, Amina saw the truth. He wasn't just protecting her out of obligation, or guilt, or some misguided sense of honor. He cared about her, really cared, and she cared about him too. "You're not leaving this apartment again," Dante said, his voice rough. "Not until this is over." "Okay. I mean it." "I know." He opened his eyes and looked at her, and for the first time Amina saw something other than control in his expression. She saw fear. That night, Amina couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the men in the garage, felt their hands on her, heard the gunshots. She checked on the baby 3 times. Each time her daughter was sleeping peacefully, completely unaware of how close they'd come to losing everything. Finally, Amina gave up on sleep. She wrapped herself in a blanket and walked out to the living room. Dante was sitting on the couch in the dark, staring out at the city lights. "Can't sleep either?" Amina asked softly. He glanced at her. "No." "Do you want company?" For a moment she thought he'd say no, but then he nodded. Amina sat down beside him, pulling the blanket around herself. They sat in silence for a while, just watching the lights below. "I killed 4 men tonight," Dante said suddenly. Amina's chest tightened. "I know. Does that scare you?" She thought about it, really thought about it. "It should," she said honestly, "but it doesn't." "Why not?" "Because you did it to protect me." She looked at him. "And because I know you're not a monster." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." Dante turned to face her. His eyes were dark and intense. "I've done terrible things, Amina. Things I can never take back. So have I." "Like what?" "I stayed with Elias for 2 years," she said quietly. "Even after he hit me the first time. Even after he threatened Noah. I stayed because I was scared and because I thought maybe I could fix him." Her voice cracked. "I put my brother in danger because I was too weak to leave." "You're not weak. Then neither are you." They stared at each other in the darkness, and then, slowly, Dante reached out and took her hand. "I didn't think I'd ever feel this again," he whispered. "Feel what?" "Hope." Amina's throat tightened with emotion. She squeezed his hand. "Me neither." They sat there together until the sun started to rise, their hands intertwined, neither of them willing to let go, and for the first time since the elevator, Amina felt like maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. The next morning, Amina woke up on the couch. Someone had covered her with a blanket. She sat up slowly, her body stiff and sore. The apartment smelled like coffee and bacon. She walked into the kitchen and stopped. Dante was cooking breakfast. Noah was sitting at the counter watching him with wide eyes, and the baby was in a bouncer on the counter, gurgling happily. It looked like a family. "Morning," Dante said without turning around. "Morning," Amina said. Her voice was rough from sleep. "I made pancakes, and eggs, and bacon. Wasn't sure what you wanted." "That's a lot of food." "I don't do anything halfway." Amina smiled despite herself. She sat down beside Noah and kissed the top of his head. He leaned into her, content. Dante placed a plate in front of her. It was piled high with food. "I can't eat all this," she said. "Try." She picked up her fork and took a bite. It was delicious. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" "My mother, before she passed." "I'm sorry. It was a long time ago." Dante sat down across from her. "She would have liked you." "Why?" "Because you're strong, and you don't take crap from anyone." Amina laughed. It felt good, like a release. "I don't know about that." "I do." They ate in comfortable silence. Noah finished his pancakes and went back to the living room to play with his dinosaur. The baby fell asleep in her bouncer, her tiny fists curled against her chest. "Thank you," Amina said quietly, "for all of this." "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do." She looked at him. "You've given me more than I ever expected. A safe place, protection, kindness." Her voice softened. "Hope." Dante's expression shifted. He reached across the table and took her hand. "You've given me something too." "What?" "A reason to care again." Amina's heart stuttered. She wanted to say something, wanted to tell him how she felt, but the words wouldn't come. So instead, she just held his hand and hoped he understood. The days started to blend together in a strange kind of rhythm. Amina would wake up early with the baby, feed her, rock her back to sleep. Then she'd make breakfast for Noah, while Dante worked in his office. Sometimes Luca would join them. Sometimes they'd eat in silence, but it felt less awkward now, less like she was intruding. It felt almost normal. Almost. But Amina couldn't shake the feeling that she was getting too comfortable, too attached. Every time Dante smiled at Noah or held the baby or touched her hand in passing, she felt something warm spread through her chest, and that terrified her. Because what happened when this was over? When Elias was gone and the danger passed, would Dante still want them around, or would they go back to being strangers? The thought made her stomach twist. One afternoon, Amina was in the guest room folding tiny baby clothes when she heard a soft knock on the door. "Come in," she called. Dante stepped inside. He was wearing jeans and a white t-shirt again. No suit. His hair was slightly messy, like he'd been running his hands through it. "Hey," he said. "Hey, can we talk?" Amina's heart jumped. "Sure, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong." Dante sat down on the edge of the bed. I wanted to check on you, see how you're doing." "I'm okay. Are you?" Amina set down the onesie she was folding. "Why are you asking?" "Because you've been quiet lately, distant." She looked away. "I'm just tired." "Amina." His voice was soft, gentle. "Talk to me." She wanted to. She really did. But how could she explain what she was feeling when she didn't fully understand it herself? "I'm scared," she said finally. "Of Elias? Of this?" She gestured between them. "Of getting too comfortable here. Of letting myself feel things I shouldn't feel." Dante was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "What kind of things?" Amina's throat tightened. "I think you know." He stood up and walked over to her. He was close now. So close she could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. "Tell me anyway," he said quietly. "I can't." "Why not?" "Because it's too dangerous." Her voice cracked. Because I'm already in over my head, and if I say it out loud, it becomes real, and I don't know if I can handle that. Dante reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. His touch was so gentle it made her want to cry. You're not alone in this, he said. Whatever you're feeling, I'm feeling it too. Amina looked up at him. You are? Yeah, but you shouldn't. I'm nobody. A delivery worker with a baby and a million problems. You're not nobody. His hand moved to her cheek, cupping it softly. You're the woman who made me feel human again. Amina's breath caught. She wanted to lean into him, wanted to close the distance between them, but before she could, the baby started crying in the other room. The moment broke. Dante stepped back, dropping his hand. I should let you... Yeah. Amina walked quickly to the crib and picked up her daughter. The baby was red-faced and angry, her tiny fists waving in the air. When Amina turned back around, Dante was gone. She sank onto the bed, holding her baby close, and tried not to cry. That evening, Amina decided to do something normal, something that would take her mind off the confusion swirling in her head. She decided to cook dinner. Luca raised an eyebrow when she told him. You cook? Yes, I cook. Amina pulled ingredients from the fridge. I used to make dinner every night before everything got complicated. What are you making? Spaghetti, nothing fancy. Boss doesn't usually eat home-cooked meals. Then maybe it's time he did. Luca watched her for a moment, then nodded. Need help? No, but thank you. Amina got to work. She chopped onions and garlic, sautéed them in olive oil, added crushed tomatoes and herbs. The kitchen filled with the smell of home-cooked food, and for the first time in weeks, Amina felt like herself again. Noah wandered in and climbed onto a stool to watch. He didn't say anything, but he smiled when she let him taste the sauce. Good, she asked. He nodded. Amina kissed his forehead. Go tell Dante, dinner's almost ready. Noah hopped off the stool and ran toward Dante's office. A few minutes later, Dante appeared in the doorway. He stopped and stared at the scene in front of him. Amina at the stove, stirring sauce. The table set with plates and silverware. The warm, cozy smell of food filling the air. What's all this? He asked. Dinner. Amina kept her eyes on the pot. I hope you're hungry. I am. She could feel him watching her, could sense him moving closer. Her heart started to race. You didn't have to do this, he said quietly. I wanted to. It's the least I can do after everything you've done for us. I'm not keeping score, Amina. I know. She finally looked at him. But I needed to do something. Something normal. Before I lost my mind. Dante's mouth twitched into a small smile. Fair enough. They sat down at the table together, all four of them. Amina, Dante, Noah, and the baby and her bouncer. It felt strange, like playing house, but it also felt right. Dante took a bite of the spaghetti and closed his eyes. This is incredible. It's just spaghetti. No, he looked at her. It's the best meal I've had in years. Amina's cheeks warmed. You're just being nice. I'm being honest. They ate in comfortable silence. Noah twirled his spaghetti around his fork, making a mess but looking happy. The baby slept peacefully, her tiny chest rising and falling, and for a moment, Amina let herself imagine this was real, that this was her life, that she belonged here. Why are you smiling? Dante asked. Amina didn't realize she had been. I don't know. I guess I'm just happy. Good. His voice was soft. You deserve to be happy. Their eyes met across the table, and Amina felt that pull again, that undeniable connection that kept growing stronger, no matter how hard she tried to fight it. She was falling for him, hard, and she didn't know how to stop. After dinner, they cleaned up together. Dante washed the dishes while Amina dried. They moved around each other easily, like they'd done this 100 times before. At one point, Dante's hand brushed against hers as he handed her a plate. The touch sent electricity shooting up her arm. He felt it too. She could tell by the way his eyes darkened, by the way his breath caught. Amina, he said quietly. Yeah? I need to tell you something. Her heart pounded. Okay. But before he could say anything else, his phone rang. He pulled it from his pocket and checked the screen. His expression immediately hardened. I have to take this. He stepped out of the kitchen, his voice low and tense. Amina finished drying the dishes alone, trying to ignore the disappointment settling in her chest. The next morning, Amina woke up to find a note on the kitchen counter. Had to step out. Be back soon. Don't leave the apartment. D. She crumpled the note in her hand and sighed. She was running low on baby formula, and the baby would need more in a few hours. Just a quick trip, she told herself. In and out. 5 minutes. She bundled the baby in a blanket and grabbed her purse. Noah was still asleep, and Luca was in the gym on the other side of the penthouse. She could slip out and be back before anyone noticed. She took the elevator down to the lobby and stepped outside. The morning air was cool and crisp. The sun was just starting to rise, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. Amina adjusted the baby in her arms and started walking toward the corner store 2 blocks away. She made it 1 block. A car pulled up beside her. Black, tinted windows. Her stomach dropped. The door opened and 2 men stepped out. Amina turned and ran. She didn't get far. One of the men caught up to her and grabbed her arm. She screamed and tried to fight back, but the other man was already reaching for the baby. "No!" Amina clutched her daughter tighter. "Don't touch her!" The man yanked the baby from her arms. Amina's world exploded into pure terror. She lunged forward, clawing and kicking and screaming. "Give her back! Give her back!" The man holding her slammed her against the side of the car. Pain shot through her shoulder. The baby was crying now, loud, desperate wails that made Amina's heart shatter. "Please," she sobbed, "please don't hurt her." And then a voice she knew too well said, "Let her go, Elias." He stepped out from behind the car, looking calm and collected, like this was just another day. "Amina," he said smoothly, "we need to talk. I have nothing to say to you." "That's too bad, because I have a lot to say to you." He nodded toward the man holding the baby. "Give her the child." The man handed the baby back to Amina. She grabbed her daughter and held her close, her whole body shaking. "See," Elias said, "I'm not a monster. I just want to talk." "Then talk. Get in the car." "No, Amina," his voice hardened. "Get in the car, or I'll have my men take the baby again, and this time you won't get her back." Amina's mind raced. She looked around desperately, hoping someone would see, would help, but the street was empty. She had no choice. She got in the car. Elias slid in beside her, and the door closed. The car started moving. "Where are you taking me?" Amina demanded. "Somewhere we can talk privately. Dante will find me." "I'm counting on it." Elias smiled. "That's the whole point." Dante was halfway across the city when Luca called. "She's gone." Dante's blood turned to ice. "What do you mean she's gone?" "She left the apartment, took the baby. I've been calling her phone, but she's not answering." "Find her." Dante's voice was deadly calm. "Now. Already on it. I've got guys checking security footage, and I don't care what you have to do. Find her." Dante hung up and pressed the gas pedal to the floor. His hands were shaking. His heart was pounding so hard he thought it might explode. "Please be okay. Please be okay." His phone rang again. This time it was an unknown number. He answered. "What?" "Moretti." Elias's voice was smug, satisfied. "I have something that belongs to you." Dante's vision went red. "If you touch her, relax. She's fine, for now." Elias paused. "If you want her back, meet me at the old warehouse on 5th Street. 1 hour. Come alone." "I swear to God, if you hurt her." 1 hour, Moretti. Don't be late." The line went dead. Dante called Luca back immediately. "I know where she is. 5th Street warehouse." "Boss, it's a trap." "I don't care. Let me come with you." "No, I'm going alone." "That's suicide." "Then I guess I'm dying today." Dante's voice was cold, final. "But I'm getting her back first." He hung up before Luca could argue and drove toward the warehouse like a man possessed. The warehouse was dark and empty. Amina sat on a metal chair in the center of the room, holding her baby close. Her arms ached. Her shoulder throbbed from where she'd been slammed against the car. But she refused to let go of her daughter. Elias paced in front of her, checking his watch. "He'll be here soon." "You don't have to do this," Amina said quietly. "Let me go. You don't want the baby. You never did." "You're right. I don't." Elias stopped and looked at her. "But Moretti does. And that's all that matters. This isn't about me. This is about your pride. No, this is about power." Elias crouched down in front of her. "Moretti took everything from me. My reputation. My standing with the Costellos. He made me look weak." His eyes hardened. "So I'm going to take everything from him." "I'm not his," Amina said. "We're not together. Maybe not, but he cares about you. I can see it." Elias stood up. "And that makes you valuable." The warehouse door slammed open. Dante walked in, gun drawn, his face a mask of rage. "Let her go," he said. His voice was quiet, dangerous. Elias smiled. "Or what? You'll shoot me? Go ahead, but my men have orders." If I die, they kill her. 3 men stepped out from the shadows, all of them armed. Dante didn't lower his gun. This is between you and me. Leave her out of it. I can't do that. Then you're a coward. Elias's smile disappeared. Careful, Moretti. You heard me. Dante took a step forward. You're a coward who hides behind women and children because you're too weak to face me on your own. I said, careful, make me. Elias's jaw tightened, and then he moved. Everything happened fast. Elias lunged toward Amina. Dante fired. One of Elias's men dropped. The other 2 started shooting. Amina screamed and ducked, covering the baby with her body. Dante moved like a predator, fast, precise, lethal. He took out the 2nd man, then the 3rd, and then he turned his gun on Elias. Elias froze, his hand inches from Amina's arm. Don't, Dante said. His voice was shaking with rage. Don't even breathe. Elias slowly raised his hands. You won't kill me. Not in front of her. Try me. Dante. Amina's voice was small, broken. Please, just get us out of here. Dante's eyes flicked to her, and in that moment, Elias made his move. He grabbed Amina's arm and yanked her up, using her as a shield. The baby screamed. Drop the gun, Elias demanded, or I break her arm. Dante's face went white. Elias, drop it! Dante lowered the gun slowly. His hands were shaking, and then Amina did something Elias didn't expect. She slammed her head backward into his face. Elias yelled and stumbled back, clutching his nose. Dante moved instantly. He grabbed Amina and the baby and shoved them behind him. Then he turned and put 3 bullets in Elias's chest. Elias fell to the ground. His eyes were wide, shocked, and then they went blank. It was over. Dante turned to Amina. Are you hurt? She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I'm okay. We're okay. Dante pulled her into his arms, holding her and the baby so tightly she could barely breathe. His whole body was trembling. I thought I lost you, he whispered. I thought, I'm here, Amina said. We're here. They stood there for a long time, holding each other in the middle of the warehouse, surrounded by death and violence. But all Amina felt was relief. It was over. The ride back to the penthouse was silent. Dante drove with one hand on the wheel and the other holding Amina's hand. He wouldn't let go, not even for a second. When they finally got back, Luca was waiting in the lobby. His face was grim. Is it done? He asked. It's done, Dante said. Luca nodded. Good. They took the elevator up to the penthouse. Noah was sitting on the couch with one of Dante's men, looking small and scared. The moment he saw Amina, he jumped off the couch and ran to her. Amina knelt down and wrapped her free arm around him. I'm okay, baby. I'm okay. Noah clung to her, his little body shaking. Dante dismissed the guard and closed the door. Then he turned to look at Amina, and she saw it in his eyes. The fear, the exhaustion, the overwhelming relief. I need to... His voice cracked. I need to sit down. He walked toward the couch, but before he could reach it, his legs gave out. Amina gasped. Dante! She ran over to him, still holding the baby. Luca was there in an instant, helping her lower Dante onto the couch. What's wrong with him? Amina demanded. Exhaustion. Adrenaline crash. Luca checked Dante's pulse. He'll be okay, he just needs rest. Amina set the baby in her bouncer and knelt beside Dante. She touched his face gently. Dante, can you hear me? His eyes fluttered open. I'm okay. You're not okay. I will be. He tried to sit up, but Amina pushed him back down. Don't move. Just rest. I need to make sure you're safe. I am safe. You made sure of that. Her voice softened. Now let me take care of you. Dante stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded and closed his eyes. Amina spent the next hour taking care of him. She brought him water, made sure he was comfortable, checked on him every few minutes. Luca watched from the doorway. You're good for him. Amina looked up. What? Boss. You're good for him. Luca's expression was softer than she'd ever seen it. He's been dead inside for 3 years, but with you, he's alive again. Amina didn't know what to say to that. She just turned back to Dante and brushed his hair away from his forehead, and she realized something. She loved him. Dante woke up hours later to find Amina asleep in the chair beside the couch. Her head was tilted at an awkward angle. Her hand was resting on his arm. He sat up slowly, careful not to wake her. His body ached, his head pounded, but he was alive, and so was she. He looked at Amina's face. Even in sleep, she looked worried, stressed. He hated that. He wanted to take all her pain away, wanted to give her a life where she never had to be scared again. but that meant making a choice he wasn't sure he was ready for. He stood up and walked to the window. The city lights glittered below, his empire, his world, but what did any of it matter if he had no one to share it with? Dante? He turned. Amina was awake, rubbing her eyes. Hey, he said softly. How long was I out? A few hours. She stood up and walked over to him. How are you feeling? Better. You scared me. I'm sorry. They stood there in the dark, the only light coming from the city below. I need to tell you something, Dante said. Okay. This whole thing, it made me realize something. He turned to face her. I can't do this anymore. Amina's face fell. Do what? Pretend I don't care about you. His voice was raw, honest. Pretend this is just about protection, because it's not. Not anymore. Dante, I want you to stay. The words came out in a rush. Not because of the danger, not because I feel obligated, but because I don't want to live without you. Amina's eyes filled with tears. You don't mean that. Yes, I do. He took her hands in his. I want to raise your daughter with you. I want to be there when she takes her first steps, says her first words. I want to teach Noah card tricks and make him laugh. I want... His voice broke. I want to be part of your family. Why? Because you brought me back to life. Dante cupped her face in his hands. And I love you for it. Amina let out a sob. I love you too. Yeah? Yeah. Dante leaned down and kissed her. Soft and gentle at first, then deeper, more desperate, like he was pouring every emotion he'd kept locked inside into that one kiss. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were breathing hard. Stay with me, Dante whispered. Please. Okay, Amina said. Okay. He kissed her again and again. And for the first time in 3 years, Dante felt whole. 1 year later, the beach house was perfect. White walls, blue shutters, a big porch that overlooked the ocean. It was nothing like the penthouse in the city. It was warm, lived in, full of light. Amina stood on the porch, watching the waves crash against the shore. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Behind her, she heard laughter. She turned and smiled. Noah was running through the sand, chasing a ball. He was bigger now, happier. He talked more, smiled more, and he called Dante Dad. Dante was sitting on the porch steps, bare feet in the sand, their daughter asleep on his chest. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair was messy. He had a new tattoo on his forearm, Amina's name woven with flowers. He looked up and caught her watching him. What? Nothing, Amina said. I'm just happy. Good. He patted the step beside him. Come sit. She did. She leaned her head on his shoulder and watched Noah play. Did you ever think we'd end up here? She asked quietly. No. Dante kissed the top of her head. But I'm glad we did. Me too. Their daughter, Sophia, they'd finally named her, stirred in Dante's arms. She opened her eyes and looked up at him, her tiny hand reaching for his face. Dante smiled down at her, the kind of smile that transformed his whole face, made him look younger, lighter. Hey, princess, he whispered. Sophia giggled and grabbed his nose. Amina's heart swelled. This was her family, her home, everything she'd ever wanted. Noah ran up to the porch, out of breath and grinning. Can we have dinner now? I'm starving. We just ate lunch 2 hours ago, Amina said, laughing. But I'm still hungry. Growing boy, Dante said. He stood up, still holding Sophia. Come on, let's see what we can find. They all walked into the house together. Amina started pulling ingredients from the fridge, while Dante set Sophia in her high chair. Noah climbed onto a stool and stole a piece of bread from the counter. It was chaotic, messy, loud. It was perfect. That night, after dinner was finished and the dishes were done, they all sat on the porch together. Noah was curled up on a blanket with his dinosaur, half asleep. Sophia was in Amina's arms, her eyes drooping. Dante wrapped his arm around Amina and pulled her close. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For giving me a second chance at this. His voice was thick with emotion. For trusting me, for loving me. Amina looked up at him. You gave me a second chance too. We gave each other one. She kissed him softly. I love you. I love you too. They sat there together, watching the sun disappear below the horizon, their family safe and whole and happy. And Amina knew without a doubt that she was finally home.